Alright, today we're working on a 2006 Honda Pilot whose driver's side back window is stuck down. A couple of things that this could be is it could be a blown fuse to that door handle, but the reason I knew that wasn't the case here is when you click the button you can still hear the motor trying to work in there. So I listened closely and it sounded really crunchy, like maybe some gears were broken or something, I wasn't sure. And so then it was time for exploratory surgery.
I have no idea what's wrong with him, so I have to do exploratory surgery. I'm going in.
That's usually how you find out what's wrong with these things. So then I started taking that car apart, taking the door apart, and when I got inside, this is what I found. Right behind the inside door lever, there's this little panel. I just pried it right off with a screwdriver. There's two screws right there. Right behind this, there's this plastic thing hooked around there. You just gotta pop that off. See that little plastic thing right there just hooks a little metal bar right there, and you just gotta pop it off. This whole thing pops up, and you just push that button right there and pull the wire out right there. Use a pry bar or a screwdriver, and then you just go all around the edges. A bunch of tabs that hold it in. Just pop them all out, so then when you pull that screw out, the whole thing just comes right off. Okay, so next, speaker is gonna have to come out. That's just 3 Phillips head screws. And then a plug that you unplug. So unfortunately, you are gonna have to take off all this, I guess you just call it weather stripping, which is, looks like it's like hard on there. Just peel it off. Unfortunately, I already did this part, but what you do now is reach in there and you can push the actual window up high enough so you can see the bolts through these holes here, the actual bolts that bolt it to the track. Take those out. Those are 2 10mm bolts. Just tape them down so I won't lose them. And then you can just manually push the window up with your hand and then tape it up so it's just hanging out of your way. And next, we're gonna take these bolts out here. Next is these 4 bolts that hold on the track inside there. Okay, and we're just going to want to unplug this power connector. That one just slides off of this orange thing. Alright, that one took some finagling just to squeeze those in and pull it out. It goes through the hole. We're also going to want to get this little clip out right there because that is where the cable just clips to the wall. Disconnected, and we should just be able to take the whole assembly in. So out of curiosity, I took my into the garage to see what was wrong, because mine, I could still, when I turned the switch, I could still hear the motor trying to work. And so I was really curious as to why it couldn't get the window up. So this piece right here is the motor that runs the thing, and this is just a spool where the cable winds up inside. So I took this piece off. I think what's happened with mine is it just the cable's gotten tangled inside there somehow. Who knows what's actually caused that to happen. Probably should just buy a new one instead of trying to fix this. Alright, so we received our new regulator assembly. Regulators! Looks exactly like the old one, so this should be easy. Maybe somebody can tell me why one is like a brass colored one. And then they did give us bolts for the motor. We won't need to use our old ones for that. So this is how I was holding the window up, by putting clamps on the track. I've seen other people put tape, but I don't know if it's just my tape or what, but my tape is not strong enough to hold for very long. Now I can reach that screw hole better. There we go. Okay, so you're gonna wanna take the power to the motor and feed it through this hole that has like a plastic ring around it. See, with the motor straight up, I took out the bolt that comes out through here. The other 2 I can slide in and hang here. And now that lines up perfectly with that hole. And we just gotta plug the motor back in. The new part slides onto the orange snap piece there, and then plug it in right there. Now I'm confident everything's where it should be, so I can go ahead and finish putting in the track bolts. Those 8 bolts, the 4 for the track, the 3 for the motor, are pretty much all you need to get everything tightened. The rest is going to be just replacing everything. Remember, this is 10mm. Now, I would like to do, before we go through all the painstaking troubles of getting this all back together, putting the window on, let's go ahead and test it. So you need power. Go turn the car on. Just turn it to on, don't crank the car. And then plug your switch back in. Sounds great. So next thing we're gonna do, get the window bolted back onto the track. Here's how I keep track of my bolts from when I took it apart. Tape them onto this cardboard. So we're not gonna end up having to use those 3 because those are the motor mount. But these 2 are the window bolts. Okay, so the window, right now we have it taped so it's held up. We're gonna wanna drop the window down so you can see the holes through here. So we're gonna hold that with a screwdriver through the hole. Take the clamps off. Right there, so we just slid the window down to match up there, and then see how I think they do that on purpose. There's that little slot. You can just slide a screwdriver in there, and that's holding the window right where you need it. I would advise going really easy on those. I'm not sure, but I think if you tighten that too much, you could crack your window. Pull the screwdriver out. Now the window is on the track. I'm going to test that one more time where we put everything back together. We did it. Now it's just a matter of putting everything back together. So the next step is putting this weather stripping thing back on, waterproofing. Before we finish putting the weather stripping back on, let's get this door handle on there because it needs to be popped into that clip and in here. And it's hard to get that without pulling it off of here. So let's pop that out, get it on, mounted on here, pop it back in that. And then now we can put our weather stripping back up. And next, why don't we go ahead and put our speaker in. I left the screws in the speaker so I won't forget where they were. Plug it in. Right, and if you don't have a heat gun like this, I got this for like $10 at Harbor Freight. I would just remind you before you do that, just make sure your window lock, your handle lever, window power cord, and your speaker are all through the holes. Pull the button cord through, door lock through. All of these retainer clips should just pop right into their holes. So pop that in like that. Have to really crank the door handle sideways to get it through the hole. There we go. Make sure we have our cable through here too. There, reaching behind, I was able to get the door lock pop through. Now if you just look on the side of the door, you can see where those snaps line up. Alright, if you remember from taking it apart, there's first 2 little black screws. Second one, you gotta hold the handle, get to it. Alright, there's a little panel that slides on to hide them. And it pops in nice and easy. Go ahead and put the screw in door panel. One here. Put under the door handle. And let's put our button on. Clicks in here. Slide your cup holder in. It just clips down. Now it's time for the moment of truth. Alright, another successful blind squirrel DIY.
Save money, learn stuff, do it yourself.
Awesome, dude. Shut the up. Nobody cares about your dumb, loud muffler. Excuse me. You know, because you don't want to look at your screws all the time.